So you just bought a Garmin Livescope. Here's 3 things that you're going to want to know mounting it on your boat. First thing is going to be transducer placement. On this boat behind us here, we've got it mounted on the trolling motor shaft. That's going to have 2 really big advantages for you. One, the Garmin Livescope comes with everything you need to mount it on the trolling motor, so there's no added expense. Second thing is it keeps your hands free, allows you to move the transducer around quickly and look for fish. Most of the time when you see a transducer mounted on the trolling motor shaft, it's going to be on bass boats. Main reason for that is you're spending most of your time on the bow of the boat looking for fish on the bank and quickly moving around from target to target. So the second way that you might think about mounting a transducer is on an external pole. This is going to be really popular for you walleye guys who are going to spend time trolling, maybe vertical jigging, or tend to spot lock a lot in your boat. So there's a couple of places you can mount this pole, one being on the bow. You see this on a lot of guys who are crappie fishing, spot locking on suspended fish out in the middle, and a lot of guys who are casting and pitching to walleye down on the grass. Second place that you can mount your pole would be right by the console. This is going to be really popular for guys who spend a lot of time driving around scanning for fish. It allows you to have control of your big motor while turning your transducer and looking in different directions. And the last place you can put the pole would be back on the transom. That's going to be really popular with guys who are fishing with multiple people in the boat. You might be guiding somebody and you want to have your clients up at the front of the boat, and it allows you to be looking around with your Livescope while it keeps the bow of your boat free. So all of these transducer mounting options are something you want to think about before you move forward with mounting your Garmin Livescope. So you've got your transducer mounted. The next thing you're going to want to think about is how you're going to properly power up your device. I've got Danny here from Garmin to come help talk about that a little more.
Yeah, absolutely. When powering up your Livescope transducer in the graphs, really the most important part is just having good quality 12-volt power. And then of course from there having the proper leads that you need. We recommend 8-gauge wiring on the Livescope units, and being able to have dedicated runs for all of the things you're powering with the correct gauge wire is important.
So you've got your transducer hooked up, you got your batteries wired. Let's put the boat in the water and go over a couple of settings. All right, so we're out here on the lake with our freshly connected Livescope. Let's take a look at some of the settings and how we can fine tune our units. So something to remember with the Garmin Livescope is that right out of the box, your default settings are going to be just fine for most guys. That being said, depending on the body of water you're on, you can sometimes fine tune your picture to clean things up a little bit. So the 2 most used settings on your Garmin Livescope are going to be your range and your gain. Think about your gain like your sensitivity. Usually, the clearer the water you're in, the lower you can keep your sensitivity. So right here, we're looking at what we think is an underwater dock, and you can see as I bring the gain up, you start to see the bars and the pilings on that dock show up a little bit cleaner. Now, anytime if you get a little bit confused or you're not sure what your unit is doing, you can tap right in the center, and it's going to send you right back to auto. Same thing with the range. As I bring that range in, you're seeing a little bit less water. If you want to just go back to auto, tap right in the center, and it'll send you right back to where you started. So once you've got your gain and your range set, now is when you can start to kind of fine tune your image. So if you open up your options and go into sonar setup, you see all these different options here. You go under appearance, you've got different color schemes. If you go into TVG, that's called time varying gain. What that does is it's going to clean up the water column a little bit in certain situations. Something to keep in mind is that any of these settings are filters that you're putting on the transducer's information, so you want to keep them as low as possible typically. One other setting that a lot of guys like to play with is called bottom fill. You'll see on the screen here, when you turn that on, there's a filter that is going to fill in what the machine thinks is the bottom of the lake. One downside to that is if you've got fish that are cruising right on bottom, sometimes they can get filtered out a little bit. Hopefully this video helped you out a little bit getting started with your Garmin Livescope. If you have any questions, leave them in the comments below. Thanks guys.